Tonight on Dr. Phil Primetime. Lindy Lee, from a leading voice in the Democratic Party to ultimately embracing the Republican platform.
Democrats falsely accuse me of being a communist spy.
That's a pretty harsh allegation.
They call me and frankly, Dr. Phil, I'd rather they call me that than a traitor to my country. Everybody lied, and they only stopped lying when they couldn't anymore. It's my responsibility to share what I know.
I am thrilled to welcome Lindy Lee, a political strategist and former Democratic National Committee official. I say you're going to enjoy this because this is a remarkable individual, and she has had a remarkable journey from her role as a leading voice in the Democratic Party and the youngest female congressional candidate in the history of the United States to being named one of Wired magazine's top influencers in 2024, and then ultimately embracing the Republican platform. Nothing short of an extraordinary journey. Lots of reasons why. We're going to uncover the pivotal moments behind her transformation, the personal toll, and it has been a high toll. I think still a very high toll of such a profound shift, and what lies ahead of her. When you meet her and get to hear from her, you're going to speculate that what lies ahead is going to be exciting because she is a dynamic individual. So, Lindy, welcome.
Dr. Phil, I think that was the best introduction I've ever gotten in my life. Thank you so much. You're almost bringing me to tears. I've watched you since I was a kid, and I never would have imagined today.
Well,
you've always been a shining star in my world. So thank you so much for having me.
Here we are, and thank you for doing this. I'm very sincere in everything that I say. I mean, you're just 34 years old. You have an amazing resume of things that you have accomplished, beginning with an education at Princeton University. Now, how do you become elected class president all 4 years and the first woman to ever achieve that? Just that alone is quite an accomplishment. Obviously, your leadership skills come to the top right away.
Well, Dr. Phil, I think you know better than anyone the power of grit and determination. I distinctly remember as a 17-year-old knocking on hundreds of doors. Sometimes, these teenagers are mean. They wanted nothing to do with me. I handed out pieces of candy. I think it was like Airheads or something. And I just went door to door. I didn't stop. I hit on every single classmate I could. And it was humiliating at times, but I gritted my teeth and I won. It was, what's that quote? All you need is like 20 seconds of insane bravery.
Exactly.
All I needed was a week of just like complete delusion. Because when you're that young, you don't think you can lose. You just keep going.
Well, I've often said I've done things on late night TV and stuff with comedy skits and one thing and another. And I've always said I have this willingness to humiliate myself. So you got to be willing to put it out there, right?
Right, exactly. And that's why you're at the pinnacle today, because you were willing to take those risks.
Sure. Now, you initiated this Do It in the Dark campaign to promote sustainability on campus. What was that all about?
It's the same mission that I still have today. I just want to save the world. I want to make the world a better place. I'm not one of these first of all, everything to do with socialism I loathe, but I will have to say that I'm a huge fan of clean air and clean water. I think everyone can get behind that. And need I remind folks who started the EPA? It was a Republican. It was Nixon. So this should be a universally supported thing. To have, to keep America beautiful, to keep our landmarks pristine. It's something that I've always really cared about because I was born in an authoritarian regime and I saw what pollution did to people. It was truly a matter of life or death.
Well, I love the way you say that. And we can disagree about how to go about that and what it takes to get it, but everybody has to agree with that outcome, right? Everybody wants green grass,
Absolutely.
Clean air, nice water. I've got grandkids, and I absolutely want them to grow up and their kids to grow up in a beautiful, clean world. Everybody wants that.
So you're so right. America's the most, in my view, it's the greatest country that ever existed in the course of human history. It's also the most beautiful. I'm a runner. I run by the river every day and it takes my breath away. I am so blessed to be here. And I feel like it's my responsibility to do everything I can to make sure that America remains clean, beautiful, and strong.
Well, you graduated, you delivered the commencement address, and then you went to work on Wall Street, as a lot of people do, particularly come out of the Ivies.
Yeah.
And you've run for Congress. I said it in the opening that you were the youngest female congressional candidate in U.S. history at age 25. You ran in Pennsylvania, and you ran for the 7th, 6th, and 5th congressional districts there.
There's a story as to why.
Yeah. I guess you were bouncing around from one district to another, but what did you run on?
Actually, I sorry to interrupt. I just want to say the Supreme Court, I kid you not, we redrew our congressional map in the middle of the race. So it seems like I ran a lot of districts, but I got moved to a different district.
Oh, okay.
Because the district I was running in before didn't exist. So in 2018, people can look this up. The Pennsylvania Supreme Court completely redrew our map because they found that gerrymandering, they found it to be unconstitutional. So the map was completely rejiggered. So I wanted to run in my Philadelphia district, but I got shunted to the west to a suburban district that I didn't live in, which ended up to be disastrous for me. I wanted to run in the Chinatown district in the city. I live in the city, but it is what it is. It was a learning experience. It was traumatizing. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, but I definitely learned a lot.
Yeah, yeah. Will you stay in politics? Will you run again?
I was actually just talking. I'm going to give you a very honest answer right now, and I hope people don't mind. I was speaking with the person I love most about this. The only circumstance under which I will ever run for office again is if President Trump or future President Vance calls me up and says, I endorse you. And let's work together to keep America strong, to keep Pennsylvania strong. That's the only circumstance. I'm never going to freelance again. I'm never going to make a decision by myself to run, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's got to be what the president wants. Otherwise, I'm just not doing it.
Yeah.
I'm never going to do it on my own again.
Yeah, because it's an uphill battle for sure.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. Now, you've been on the air before. You've been a political commentator for NBC News and MSNBC. You've hosted a TV series, Listening with Lindy Lee, and you've been featured in a Fox News documentary, My Socialism Nightmare.
Right. I'm very much against the leftists.
Now, what was the big turning point for you? Because to make this switch, you aren't the first one to ever do this, but you're passionate about the things you do, because I've studied you. I've seen what you do, and you're all in when you do something. So to make the switch that you've made from Democrat to Republican is a big deal. Why did you do it?
Well, Dr. Phil, you just mentioned something a few seconds ago about my Fox News documentary that I did 6 years ago, warning against the dangers of Bernie Sanders, of leftists, of this huge lurch that the Democratic Party was undertaking, even 6 years ago. This has been a decade move to the left. And I think, honestly, Obama initiated it. Under Obama, the party became the party of DEI, woke, trans, worshiping LGBTQI+, all that, none of which I signed up for. I became a Democrat in high school. I'm from suburban Pennsylvania. Being a Democrat meant being a moderate, someone who supports everyday Americans' common sense values. I grew up as a conservative Christian. And at that point in the early aughts, it was okay to be a Christian in the Democratic Party. Now it's anti-religion. They think you're stupid if you're Christian. And this is a relatively recent phenomenon, all in the past decade. I didn't sign up for any of that. So right now they see me as far right simply because I haven't moved. I've been here. Meanwhile, you have the AOCs and the Bernie Sanders of the party taking over. I don't want any of that. Frankly, I'm embarrassed to be associated with them.
Well, have you moved a lot, or has the Democrat Party moved a lot? Have you moved a lot, or has the Democrat Party moved a lot? Because I've had people tell me, I didn't leave the Democrat Party left me. Where do you come down on that?
I think that's true, but I've also been shifting right as just a byproduct of growing up, of learning, of interacting more, reading more. As I've matured, I've become more conservative. Also, I live in the city of Philadelphia. I've had unfortunate run-ins with migrants on the streets, people who shouldn't be here, and we should call them what they are. They're illegal immigrants. I'm a naturalized immigrant, and as I've grown older, I've gained a deeper appreciation of what it means to be a naturalized American citizen, a proud and grateful American. My family never took a single handout. It would be deeply anathema to everything we are to take a handout. But you have millions of people pouring through or no longer because President Trump is now here. But under Biden, we had millions of people pouring into the country, storming the southern border, taking handouts, being on, the people that we're funding with taxpayer funds. We should be taking care of Americans first. We have a duty of care to take care of our people first. And we shouldn't be called bigots or racists simply for caring about Americans. So yes, the party has been lurching leftward and they're all trying to out socialist the one before, but I've also just grown up. I'm now in my 30s and I'm just older and wiser. And it doesn't make sense for me to be one of those woke social justice warriors.
Well, do you think that these woke social warriors are actually anti-Christian?
I do, because they call my religion. They think some of them even say it's Lindy and her sky daddy.
Really?
Using, yeah, exactly. Derogatory language like that. And I've had to hide my faith. I didn't talk about it much actually, but I've been wearing this for the past 15 years of my life, almost like as a sign of rebellion.
What is their problem with religion? What is their problem with God? What are they putting in place of that?
Woke is their religion. I said that on Fox last month, and it went insanely viral because I think it hit a chord with the American people. Woke is their religion. Virtue signaling. Government is their religion. All this, trans is their religion. To even question the trans ideology is sacrilegious for them. You cannot go against that church, leaving that party, Dr. Phil, as you mentioned, it was one of the most harrowing periods, and I'm still in it actually, one of those harrowing periods of my life, because it's like a church of Scientology. They excommunicated me, they discredited me, disowned me, tried to destroy me. I still, yeah.
How did they try to do that?
So many ways. First of all, I want to mention that the Chinese Communist Party killed my great-grandfather. It's one of the reasons why my parents left the country, because they were persecuted. They went to England. We actually lived in Sheffield, England first. Democrats and actually some people on the far right falsely accused me of being a communist spy.
That's a pretty harsh allegation.
It is. And I've had to hire a lawyer. I actually have the same lawyer as President Trump and Pete Hegseth now, Tim Palatori. He's fantastic. And he's such a fighter. And I'm one of the most vetted people in the country, frankly, because anyone who goes, and Dr. Phil, I'm sure you are as well, because anyone who goes to the West Wing, anyone who goes to the White House, who's around the president, needs to be vetted time and time again. And it's not a static thing. You are continually vetted. Under Biden, every time I went, I had to submit my vitals to the Secret Service, to the FBI. They wouldn't even let you in if you have a tax lien. I hosted a fundraiser for Biden in May. We had to ban someone because he owed $40,000 to the IRS and he couldn't go until he paid it off. So, a lot of people don't understand that if you're operating at this level of politics, you are extremely vetted.
Yeah, and like you say, it's an ongoing thing. It's a rolling thing. And so you've been around presidents, you're in and out of the White House. you're not going to have traces to a communist spy for China and be walking around the West Wing in the Oval Office standing next to the
Exactly.
president. That's not going to happen.
It's absolutely not. And they've called me, I don't know what I'm allowed to say on here in terms of like profanity, but they've called me all sorts of things.
You
They
say
can call me
whatever you
all
want to
that,
say.
frankly. I'll just repeat it. They've called me a poor slut. And frankly, Dr. Phil, they can call me that. I'd rather they call me that than a traitor to my country. This country that I love so, so much. So much. I would do anything for America. I would do anything. If there's anything that the government wanted me to do to combat China, I would. I've denounced the CCP so many times.
Okay, Lindy, here are a few online examples of what you're talking about, people calling you out. Why are you promoting an obvious op? It's at Glenn Beck. Lindy Lee is not who she claims to be. She was born in China, and now she's trying to subvert and influence the GOP. Where have we seen this before? Then there's an emoji. How do we know she doesn't have any loyalties to the CCP? But I can see why that would be upsetting. Then there's one, I mean, you don't even need to comment on these. There's one that had to do with you being a quote spy. Lindy the liar claims she can't speak Chinese. I revealed her deception with concrete video evidence. See the attached post below. She says CCP murdered my great grandfather. I am a proud American and would die for our country. You believe her? Then another one. Was Lindy Lee part of the DNC deal and now she's trying to spy on the Republican Party? I mean, who are Lindy Lee's 2.5 billions donors? I mean, obviously, it's just harassment. And again, I'm not even going to ask you to respond to it. Is Lindy Lee what the dictionary defines as a feckless blank? Lindy Lee's a far leftist grifter and fraud. She's not on our side. She's grifting. It just goes on and on. I could read a bunch of these, but frankly, I don't want to give them any more airtime. I just want people to get a feel for what you have had to deal with across time. And I think I've read enough for people to get a feel for it. So, like I say, I don't want to give it any more airtime than what it deserves, which is none.
I don't know what else there is to do. But, often, on the right, there are these influencers who are jealous because they think I've jumped the line. But I don't want anything from anybody. I'm not looking for a job. I just want to tell my truth.
Then they came at you when you called out Biden's health. Of course, we know you were absolutely being 100% truthful when you talked about that. So they just pounded on you for telling the truth, essentially. So
my mission is to prevent the current iteration of the Democratic Party from ever gaining power again. And I know these people personally. These people aren't just caricatures to me. I know Kamala Harris. I know Joe Biden. And I don't want them or any of their ilk to ever be in power again. I feel that it's my responsibility to share what I know.
Well, we know what we mean when we say woke, and it's certainly not a positive thing. To me, it has a very negative connotation, and it rejects science, it rejects Christianity, it rejects so many of the things that history, biology, rewriting things that we know to be empirically true. It wants to rewrite so much of the family values, the things that this country has been built on. It wants to undermine meritocracy and put in socialism and Marxism and embrace equality of outcome, not opportunity, but outcome.
Exactly.
And so much of the things that, as I say, this country was built on. What do they think woke means?
They they think that they are the right. The crazy thing, Dr. Phil, is that they think they are on the right side of history. Um, they don't just want equality of opportunity. They want equality of outcome. They don't believe in meritocracy. And I want to clear up something. People call me a DEI hire. Let me first tell you, I was never on anyone's payroll. I volunteered my time. I was appointed to leadership. I was never on Kamala Harris's payroll. So that doesn't even make sense. But just so people know, Asian Americans score better than anybody, than any demographic. Okay, so actually, my demographic is the one that's most hurt by these DEI policies. So please, those people who make the allegation need to get an education.
That didn't even make sense that you're a DEI hire. What the hell are they talking about?
They have no idea what they're talking about. I got a 2390 on my SATs when I was on a 2400 scale, and I wasn't able to get into Harvard.
Well, that
If I
pisses
were
me
a
off.
different race,
It
I know,
pisses me
I
off
was-
that you
I
made
was
a 2390. Come on. That's not fair.
I tried to hit 2400, but I couldn't. But it just totally, I was wailing with grief because my dad told me that Harvard was everything. So it was an existential crisis for me. But putting that aside, if I were a different race, if I were Hispanic or Black, I definitely would have gotten it. I mean, no question. But because I was Asian, I was penalized. So I love what President Trump is doing in that regard. We need to revitalize a meritocracy. Enough of this affirmative action, of this unfair preferential treatment for certain classes, of this anti-white discrimination. Can we finally call it what it is? It's anti-white discrimination.
Yeah, it's
right?
racism, for
Especially
sure.
white men. It's white men. I see people trashing white men all the time. There's an affinity group, it seems like, for every single group, but white men. Haven't you noticed? It's like every group, even Asians for whatever. There's Hispanics, there's Blacks, there's gays, there's whatever, but there's no white men. White men have become everyone's punching bag.
Yeah, it seems that there's definitely this idea that if you are a majority, you can't be discriminated against, and that's just simply not true. And I think the Supreme Court has been very clear about that. In Pennsylvania, you were treasurer of the Pennsylvania Young Democrats, and you held that position
and they kicked
for
me out.
3 or 4 years, and you were forced to resign over some video about Bernie Sanders. Is that right?
I called him a communist.
Yeah.
And that was it.
That was the end of it, right?
That was the end of it. And it was sacrilegious for them. They said I doctored a video of him speaking and I called him a communist, which is not okay in their eyes, even though he exhibits all the characteristics.
Was this a doctored video?
No, it absolutely wasn't. It was just him praising Russia.
Yeah.
If anyone knows me, they would know that I'm not really great with tech. How could I possibly doctor that? And also, it's just what he said. He was just praising how he basically said that Russia's system was superior to America's. And I called him a communist, which is what he is. I mean, where's the lie? You tell me.
Yeah, it got picked up by everybody, right?
Yes, exactly. It went insanely viral. But I mean, I'm glad I did it because it would have been devastating for this country if Bernie Sanders were the Democratic nominee, and God forbid if he had won. It would have been so bad.
Yeah, I don't think we could afford Bernie Sanders.
No, we can't. So I feel like I did my part.
Yeah, I think that'd be a little expensive. Was that the beginning of the end? Is that where things started, where they really turned on you viciously?
I think that, but I had been shifting rightward even before then. I've never been able to relinquish my conservative upbringing. I mean, I went to church every single Sunday. I went to youth group every single Friday. Even today, every night, I read the Bible. I still have my King James version of the Bible, and I listen to Christian music. There's nothing more peaceful than that. It's just so deeply ingrained in my psyche. It's just who I am. I've never been able to worship at the altar of LGBTQI plus, and every year there's another letter attached to that. It's just not me. It makes me feel deeply uncomfortable.
How has this affected you for the Democrat Party to attack you so vehemently and so broadly? And I assume most of this has been on social media platforms, and where else? Has it been mostly on social media platforms?
Um, yes, but also it seeped into real life in that I was banned from the Biden White House like I'm some low life criminal, even though I don't even drink alcohol or I don't even never even tried marijuana. I was treated like some crackhead. So I was banned from the White House, banned from the Naval Observatory, right? Like it's like I'm some, I don't know. I've never done it. I don't even jaywalk, so I don't know what's going. It just they treated me like some hardened criminal just because I asked them what happened to the $2.5 billion that was raised. I raised millions of that, but I didn't toe the party line. So, and it's been really hard. I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting for my health to stabilize. Frankly, it's been really hard.
Well, they came after you, and that started in 2020,
Yeah,
and this has been going on for 5 years.
yeah, more or less, more or less. Obviously, things escalated when I asked for accountability. I raised millions of dollars for Harris. I actually stopped before Election Day because I couldn't stomach it anymore. And then I asked what happened. Why did we waste $2.5 billion on Beyonce and Cardi B and Obama and Christina Aguilera? Why did we spend $500,000 a night putting her face on the Las Vegas Sphere? Why did you lie to us about winning 3 to 4 battleground states? And Dr. Phil, you can remember how many battleground states she ended up winning.
Yeah,
They
zero.
lied to the donors. Zero, exactly. They lied to the donors about the internal polling to get us to give money. And these donors, I'm not, people think I'm a staffer. Let me say again, I'm not a consultant. I'm not a staffer. I did this because I wanted to. I believe in the democratic process. I asked my friends to donate and they trusted me. They're not really ideological. They just believed in me. And I said, Dr. Phil, I'm going to be honest with you. At that time, and it was an error of judgment, I thought that the Democratic Party would have been better for our country. I realize now that I was wrong, that I fell for the mainstream narrative. After seeing how they wasted and lied to us about the campaign, it occurred to me that they could have been lying about other stuff as well. And I raised issues about Biden's age. I noticed that they were lying about that. I raised that in the middle of the campaign. You know what they did? They banned me from MSNBC and CNN. I used to be on MSNBC all the time. In July 2024, I went on Fox News Sunday hinting that Biden was too old to run. I got threats from the White House, angry phone calls from the White House and the campaign. And after that, I only appeared on MSNBC once. Because the MSNBC and the Biden White House were essentially one entity. I pissed somebody off there. Or maybe, I'm sure a multitude of people.
You called into question his viability to do the job because of his age and his cognitive decline, correct?
His decline more so than his age, because frankly, I actually know a lot of 80-year-olds, 90-year-olds who are really mentally sharp. His decline is, the greater concern.
Did you confront people on his team, people around him that obviously knew and were covering up the fact? And listen, let me preface what I'm getting ready to ask you by saying, I don't blame President Biden. He can't help what's happening to himself neurologically. he can't help that. It's the people around him that I point to who knew it and covered it up, hid it, blatantly, overtly lied about it. Did you confront those people by saying, look, you guys are saying, hey, he's sharp as a tack, he runs meetings, he's A, B, C, D, he's clicking things off, when you know that he is in cognitive decline and disoriented and having trouble focusing, et cetera, et cetera. Did you confront them about that?
I did. I did. And I am writing a book and listing out all the people I confronted, and they know I did. I have a paper trail of emails, of texts, of the very many times that I raised this issue before the campaign in 2022 and 2023. And I'm going to give you a specific example. In September 2023, the top donors, it's called the National Finance Committee. I was a member of that. I brought my brother to Chicago, and Kamala Harris was with us. And so was senior advisor Anita Dunn. And so was the actor from The Wire, Wendell Pierce, the one who, you know who I'm talking about, right?
Mm-hmm, yes.
We were all standing there. And I remember, I can't remember the exact date, but it was the same day that someone wrote an op-ed in the Washington Post, I think, or the New York Times, asking Joe Biden to resign. It might have been David Rebnick. I'm not really sure. Someone wrote this op-ed urging Biden to step aside for the good of the country. I raised this to Ken Martin. For our viewers who don't know who Ken Martin is, he is now the chair of the Democratic Party. He was then vice chair. I raised this issue. And I try to be nice too. I said, don't you think he's right? Like the author's right. Don't you think Biden is too old? And he dismissed me so summarily. He's like, no, don't be silly. Biden's fine. And he made me feel ridiculous for even bringing it up, even though my brother, who's 20, he was 24 at the time. So in his eyes, like Biden's like ancient. And he made me feel like I was the insane one for even bringing up an issue that every American can see with their own eyes. It was though he was telling me, don't believe your lying eyes. I raised it to him. I was in the Oval Office in February of 2024, and I bumped into Jen O'Malley Dillon, who was the chair of the Harris campaign. And I raised this and other issues about the campaign to her. She took down my name, my number, and email in her little notebook that she carries everywhere. She said she'd get back to me. She pretended as though she was listening and hearing, but obviously she wasn't, because I never heard from her again in that regard. So yeah, I brought this up to the highest echelons. Like, these are the people running the show, and they all acted like I was the crazy one, like I was the heretic.
Who ultimately forced him out, in your opinion?
Nancy Pelosi, without a question. Without a question. I tried to force him out too. Like, it's not, at that point, I didn't care so much about the party as I did about our country. We couldn't have him running the show. Frankly, I don't even think he was equipped to serve that final year. I think it was really a matter of the 25th Amendment. I really think it was a matter of that. And I had donors, MDs, like people with medical degrees, people that I would bring to events with me as donors. These are people, with the credentials to make such a diagnosis. They told me that he had early onset Parkinson's, which is huge. And then we hear from Karine Jean-Pierre that over the summer, there were Parkinson's doctors, unexplained visits from these Parkinson's doctors to the White House. I don't think it's far-fetched that he might be experiencing early onset Parkinson's. Again, I'm not a doctor. This is what I'm hearing from my donors and friends who came with me to events with Joe Biden. I brought a doctor friend to a Valley Forge speech that Biden gave in January of 2024. She was sitting in the front row with me, so she had a clear view of his mannerisms, his hand gestures. She said, without a question, this man has Parkinson's.
So
my dad also has an MD. Yes, my dad also has an MD, and said, of course. But again, they're not. Neither of them are actually his doctors. So,
Right, of course. He did have a physician who didn't come forth
Kevin O'Connor, yeah.
And say it. So who was running this country in the last year of his presidency?
Anita Dunn, Steve Ricchetti, Mike Donnellan, Jeff Zients. The first three that I mentioned are his senior advisors. The final one is his chief of staff. And also Jill Biden and her bulldog, a guy named Anthony Bernal, who is right now running their transition office. These were the people we had. I don't know if the American people know this, but it's my duty to say so. We had a council of presidents for the past 4 years. We didn't have a president. We had commanders in chief.
So even before the last year, we had unelected people running the country.
Without a doubt. Steve Ricchetti and Anita Dunn wielded so much power, and everyone knew it. Everyone knew it. Like all the donors, if they had a bone to pick, they knew exactly who to go to. It wasn't Biden. It was Steve Ricchetti. Mike Donnellan was the one who actually, he's the guy who was chairing, running Biden's reelection campaign. And he was the one feeding Biden the numbers saying that he could beat Trump, which is so implausible. Because by the time Biden dropped out, according to Biden's own numbers that Donnellan allegedly lied about, Biden was on track. Trump was on track to win 400 electoral votes. That's how bad the situation was. Biden's numbers were cratering everywhere. And I know for a fact that the money completely dried up after the debate. I was on the phone with finance directors from the campaign in the days in the aftermath of the debate. These people are around my age. They're my age. So we spoke to each other like friends. They had nothing to do because there was no money coming in. Big donors completely stopped.
So they were bailing right and left.
Absolutely. There was nobody left.
How was the decision reached that Harris would be the candidate?
She made it seem like it was all sudden and everything. But the truth of the matter, it was that it wasn't. Prior to July 21st, the day that Biden dropped out, she had already been vetting VP candidates. So there was always that possibility. But the Naval Observatory was under a strict edict. Staffers under Harris were not allowed to engage with any outside advisors or donors about the possibility of her ascending to the top. And Harris, to her credit, or to her, not to her credit, was loyal to Biden to a hilt. So she continued to lie to the American people about Biden's fitness. And I'm so sorry. And this is really hard for me to say, Dr. Phil. I'm sorry. I know that a lot of people are upset at her and Biden, but this is so hard for me to say because a part of me will always harbor love for them. I'm sorry if you think I'm crazy, but they showed me tremendous kindness over the years. And I want them to know that this isn't personal. This is just the right thing to do. And they know what I'm saying is true. But on a personal level, they were always kind to me and my family. I do want to say that.
If it's true, it's true. And I have no ill will towards Biden over this at all. It's hard for the person who is in decline to recognize their degree of decline. It's kind of like trying to look at your own face without a mirror. You just can't do that. You're not fast enough. And it's hard for him to realize how many cognitive steps he's dropped, how much he's losing in his capacity. Doesn't mean he doesn't have any insight to it at all, but it's difficult for him to completely understand it if he's got support around him and they're propping him up. And as you know, he had good moments and he had not so good moments. And when you have those good moments, usually mid-morning, something like that, you can feel like you're doing okay. But overall, I think it was pretty apparent to the most casual observer that he was in serious cognitive decline. And like I say, I don't blame him for that. I'm sure he would have preferred it not be that way. But there had to be a massive cover-up going on because everybody was pretending like, no, he's doing great.
Everybody lied, Dr. Phil. Everybody lied. And they only stopped lying when they couldn't anymore, which is the night of the debate. And I was with Biden the night of the debate. I felt so bad for him that when he came down to talk to me afterwards, first he asked me about my husband. I'm not yet married, which is another thing. But I felt so bad for him, I couldn't even talk about the debate. I just tried to make him feel better. And everyone in that room tried to make him feel better. It was really like a nursing home, because usually it's the president who bucks up the American people. You know, with FDR and the fireside chats, it was his way of encouraging and instilling the American people with confidence. In this case, it was completely the reverse. We were trying to instill him with confidence. And it was in Georgia. The debate was in Georgia. We had signs of Georgia peach Joe, like the peach shape of a peach as a heart Joe, to cheer up his spirits. It was the same night that, I don't know if you remember, Dr. Phil, Jill was like, he knew all the facts. He said all the right things. Do you remember that? Right. I was in that room. And by the time, I don't know if you could tell on TV, but by that time, the room had basically emptied out because people were just so distraught and devastated.
Right.
But yeah, you are totally right about the cover up. Literally every single person lied. And you know, some of them are still lying. You have the current former chair of the DNC, the former chair of the Democratic Party. It's hard for me to have such extreme disdain for anybody, but I have the utmost contempt for this man. He still attacks me to this day for saying that Biden is in cognitive decline. To this day, when it's apparent many times over, and he is still attacking me for telling the truth.
So who is attacking you still?
The former chair of the DNC.
Oh, okay.
If he had spent as much time running the party as he does right now, attacking me, who's no longer even part of the party, you know, the Democrats would be in much better shape. But their priorities are all wrong.
Look, I've kind of cut this off in the middle because it is the middle. It's not the end. I have so much more to talk with you about. So I'm going to stop us here and ask everybody to tune in next time when I continue a much more in-depth conversation with Lindy Lee. So tune in next time and we'll continue this fascinating conversation with this amazing young woman, Lindy Lee. We'll see you next time.